All eyes on the federal judge here in Washington, D.C., assigned to the January 6th indictment case. Is she going to remember her days as a defense lawyer with limited resources up against the massive resources of the U.S. government, or is that in her rearview mirror? Earlier this month, Special Counsel Jack Smith proposed a January 2, 2024 start date for the trial on a case he was appointed to in November 2022. He became special counsel. Trump, as you may recall, was arraigned on August 3, 2023, giving Smith a 9-month jump on Trump and his lawyers to prepare for trial. Last week, Trump's lawyers asked the federal judge in Washington, D.C., Judge Tanya Chutkan, for an April 2026 start date. Now, as you might have guessed, that trial date request did not sit well with Special Prosecutor Smith. He wants it this January. Trump's lawyers are asking for an April 2026 trial date, and they stated it was their preparation needs. The pleading reads in part, quote, "We would need to proceed at a pace of 99,762 pages per day to finish the government's initial production by its proposed date for jury selection," end of quote. Molly Gatson, a federal prosecutor detailed to the special counsel, responded to that defense request for that April 2026 trial date. That filing reads in part, quote, "The defendant cites inapposite statistics and cases, overstates the amount of new and non-duplicative discovery, and exaggerates the challenge of reviewing it effectively," end of quote. Former federal prosecutor for the Eastern District of Virginia, Joseph Moreno, joins me. And I might add you to say, you prosecuted in a jurisdiction that we in D.C. used to call the rocket docket. No one as a defense lawyer wanted to go out to Virginia because you pushed our trials too fast.
And you know what? In a case in Virginia, which is the rocket docket, which is extremely aggressive in bringing cases, any kind of issue, forget about it if you have multiple defendants, but any kind of issue that needs to be ironed out would push the trial date to at least a year from indictment. No one would even blink an eye at a year. And that's with maybe just one or two issues that need to be worked out. We had a case involving classified documents, a former CIA case officer. The case was indicted in 2010, right? Involved mishandling of classified documents. It wasn't tried until 2015.
5 years.
5 years.
In the rocket docket?
That's in the rocket docket.
That sounds like California, though, state court. All right. In this case, in light of the fact that this special counsel has had a 9-month jump, I mean, there are massive resources on the side of the prosecution against any defense attorney. I don't care how much money a defendant has. And all these documents, is it fair to push him to trial, Trump to trial this January? And is it practical to wait until the 2026?
I mean, look, they've been investigating January 6th for 2.5 years, but 5 months to get ready for trial is no big deal, right, for the defendant. Look, I get a kick out of hearing these prosecutors pound the podium and say, we want a speedy trial for this case. We want to bring the case to trial quickly. The Sixth Amendment right to a speedy trial is a right for the accused.
Not for the government.
Exactly. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, the Supreme Court has recognized a public interest in a swift movement of cases. So a defendant can't just say, I want to wait 5 years. But the deference is supposed to be given under the Fifth and Sixth Amendments to the defendant to make sure that he or she has the right to prepare adequately for trial. And so when Jack Smith, when he indicted the Florida case and asked for a December trial date, right now it's May, then he indicts the January 6th case and wants a January trial date. I mean, it's so unreasonable to say that Donald Trump should be defending himself on a case thousands of miles away from each other that are just months apart, which have many, many issues that have to get worked out.
The Tower of Paper, that Lisa says, is 5,000 feet into the sky. That's taller than the Washington Monument, which the documents that they'd have to look at. And there are 8.5 terabytes of materials. So, I mean, the task is daunting. But, as a former defense lawyer, I'm actually looking at the judge on this. She was a former public defender. And I'd be curious to see if she remembers her old days of what it's like to be drowned in discovery by the prosecution. That's what you all do that. You just drowned us in discovery because we don't have the resources. I mean, that's sort of, admit it.
And and I love the prosecution's response to the idea that the defense had to go through all this paperwork was they said, well, you should just let machines kind of go through it. You don't need to go through every page. Just have computers review it. What defense lawyer would actually go along with that?
But see, any defense attorney would. I mean, any defense attorney is outraged at that, and we'll see whether the judge remembers her day as a defense attorney to think that you could ever effectively represent your client letting a machine go through documents.
I think people in general have to kind of put their bloodlust against Donald Trump on the side and look at this objectively. And if these cases are rushed to trial, and if his rights as a defendant, like anyone enjoys, are steamrolled because people want to see these trials go quickly, they're subject to get reversed on appeal. So if that's what people want, then sure, rush them for the headlines, for the quick media hit. But I think it's a bad idea, and I've said it all this time. I don't see any of these 4 cases going to trial before next year's election.
Okay, well then consider this, because if the Georgia case gets moved to federal court, all of them, and we'll see Monday whether it's live. So you have that one in federal court, you have the one in federal court down in Florida, and the one in federal court here. And if it's post-election and there is a Republican president, whether it's Trump or whether it's somebody else, all those are potentially parted away. And so the only one to worry about is the New York one, which is the least of the worry for most people, because it's like paying your own money as a hush money for maybe a girlfriend.
And look, I get that. Those are all great political concerns, and those are true. But as far as the prosecutors go, they should be focused on nothing more than, are they bringing cases that are righteous, and are they respecting the rights of the defense?
Is it fair?
Yes.
Is it fair?
Exactly,
is it fair?
Exactly.
Are we playing fairly?
Exactly. And right now it looks like they're piling on, and they're saying we're not political, but they're indicting cases and then asking for trial dates right in the heart of a political campaign. So they're really throwing on its head the whole concept of the justice system staying out of politics.
Joseph Moreno, thank you. Nice
Thanks,
to
Greta.
see you.